Hi, this isn't a podcast. So hi, this is gonna be my first in a new series. I guess you can call it like a project video type deal. So yeah, I've already knitted the pattern. The pattern is called the SHaGS by Sarah Jordan. The SHaGS is a acronym. It stands for Simultaneous Heel Flap and Gusset Socks. So yeah, I made these cool socks. They're right here. Right here. And yeah, so this video is just going to be an overhead shot of me knitting and some voiceovers I'm doing talking about the pattern and my thoughts while making it. So yeah, hope you enjoy the video. So let's get started with the materials that you will need. You will need a size 0 or 2 millimeter knitting needle, 3 stitch markers, of course the yarn. I have extra things here. I have a row counter. Well, just a row counter actually I have. So now let's get started with casting on. First, you're going to make a slip knot in whichever fashion that you choose. And I did the long tail cast on to cast on the required number of stitches for my size. So yeah, just watch me cast on these stitches. And here I am actually casting on. You can see me doing the long tail cast on method here. And I'm off to the races. After casting on the required amount of stitches, I added an extra stitch so I can do a jogless join in the round, and I just removed that extra stitch as you can see here, and then I get started with the ribbing. Well, first I put on my row counter by twice sheared sheep. This just makes it easy for me to count the rows hands free. All I have to remember to do is to move the marker up with each row that I complete. So yeah, starting the ribbing now. And for ribbing, regardless of what the pattern says to do, I always do a 2x2 rib for about 15 or 20 rounds. So I usually just deviate from the pattern in that way. So yeah, as you can see here, I'm starting to do my ribbing. And for my ribbing, I do a combination knit. So I'm knitting regularly. And for the purling, I am doing a Russian purl or Eastern purl. It's less movement, and yeah. So the first row is always the hardest for me to complete because it's just a little fiddly because you don't have much to hang on to, and you have to do a lot of rearranging of the stitches. So yeah, I've gone ahead and skipped forward to me with more stitches done, and you can see me completing the knitting the 2x2 ribbing here, and you can see how I am purling using a Russian purl or an Eastern purl, and I just find it to be quite easier this way. My ribbing looks a little bit neater than if I was to do a regular knit and purl sequence. And yeah, I do this type of purling in the round for all of my purling in the round. So yeah, just enjoy me knitting here, and there's a little mistake. I'm just trying to get the whole stitch on the needle there. And yeah. So this sock pattern was a lot of fun to knit. for the most part, it's just your typical sock pattern. The only difference is when it comes to doing the heel flap and gusset. It's quite different to how you would typically do a heel flap and gusset. So this first half of me working on the cuff and the leg are just how I would knit any other sock. So yeah, I do my 2x2 ribbing for about 15 rounds, and yeah, this is me knitting at full speed. Let me know if you like these types of videos with the voiceover and me just knitting. I find it kind of awkward because I'm just watching myself back and just recording over it. But yeah, it was fun to make this type of video. I was just knitting as usual and watching one piece while I was knitting. I just had their camera going, and yeah, it was pretty easy. The hardest part came to was doing the editing, because I had to cut through minutes and minutes of foolishness. So at this point I have finished the cuff, and now I'm just knitting the leg. And knitting with this Freckled Whimsy has been great. This is my first time using Freckled Whimsy, and I'm so glad that I have a whole year's supply of yarn coming in. I'm using the Splendid base, which is an 85-15 blend. It's so squishy, and these socks are just so soft. I really enjoy knitting on these socks. So yeah, I'm just doing the leg now. The first round is always tricky because you're going from ribbing to stockinette. So once I get through this first round, I'll be able to just knit in the round. At this point, I've knitted the cuff, not the cuff, the leg to the portion I'm supposed to, and I'm just counting my stitches because I messed up when I was starting the heel flap section, so I'm just making sure I have the right number of stitches, and then I'll continue to knit the heel flap. I'm just going to jump forward to the next portion. So yeah, there's the heel flap and gusset, and I dropped a couple stitches. I just need to pick those up. So let me just pick up these stitches really quick, and I'll get back to showing the sock. There's quite a few extra stitches on the needles now. It gets hard to keep them all, but there we go. That back portion is showing off the nice heel flap, and here's the gusset and the instep stitches. As you can see, the gusset's going right there, and there's no big interruption with the stripe pattern. There's a little bit of a smaller portion of that pink section, as you can see, but it's no big deal. There's no pooling happening. Everything's still in the correct sequence as it should be. So I'm just gonna pick back up and start the next part of the pattern. Yeah, so this sock features reinforcement on the back of the heel and on the bottom as well, and that was fun to knit. If you guys haven't purchased this pattern, I definitely suggest you do. It's only $6 and you can use this for all of your self-shopping yarn, so you won't have to cut the yarn or add in a separate color for the heel flap. I mean, if you like doing that, go for it, but I like to have as few ends to weave in as possible, so this pattern made that so much easier. Yeah, and the pattern's really easy to follow. There's not if you were a sock knitter, there's no stitches in here that you wouldn't be familiar with. You're just knitting in the round, purling in the round. You don't have to knit flat for a long section, so that's good. Slip stitches, there's some lifted increases, basic decreases, and of course grafting. So yeah, at this point I am finishing up the heel flap here. Or no, at this point I believe I'm decreasing the stitches so I can get back to the original count. And yeah, I've knitted everything up to here, so the next picture will be the completed sock. And here it is, boom, completed sock. And as you can see, there's no interruption. I did not have to cut any yarn. It was great. The stripes are all intact. And here I'm showing off the reinforcement on the bottom. It really hugs your heel, so it feels nice. But yeah, that was my experience knitting the socks. I've gone ahead and already knitted the second sock, and I am completely finished with this project. It was so much fun to knit. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Bye.